So this look right here, okay, my signature pink Douyin everyday look, this is what brings all the boys to the yard, okay? This is what gets the men to spend that coin on me on the dates. This is what gets even women, okay, like girls in totally non-romantic, non-dating scenarios. I low-key think that the blush alone is what seals the deal, because the natural flushed look, that's what we associate with youth, beauty, health, vitality, which if you break it down, those are kind of the driving pillars of what we know as pretty privilege. So essentially what I'm doing here is that I'm leaning into the baseline pretty privilege that I've already been born to. So I'm East Asian, you know, I kind of fit the stereotypical mold of the slim, petite, cute East Asian girl. And whether or not you find this stereotype to be harmful or whatnot, this is not a discussion about that. This is a dark femininity training, okay? For me, I actually don't mind. Like, there was a point in my life, maybe in my early 20s, when I was really drinking the Kool-Aid of the whole PC feminist movement, where if people called me cute, I was like, how dare you assume that I'm cute just because I'm an Asian female? But now I'm like, you know what? If cute is gonna get me positive attention from everyone, if it's gonna get me free drinks at the bar, just people being nice to you, like going out of their way to be nice, and maybe even to the point where they treat you with kid gloves sometimes because they see you as something very delicate, very in need of, yeah, like delicate treatment, then I have no problem being perceived automatically as cute upon first impressions. And I also have no problem leaning into it, extending beyond even the makeup, right? You can see I also have these two bow ties in. So what I do is I literally I tie a tiny section of hair separately on each side, and then I just clip the bow on there just to give it something to grip onto, or else it'll slide down. Also, this helps to balance out my face shape in particular in order to give it a more neotenous look. Because if you think about it, so talking about kawaii, cute, that strain of pretty privilege, it's kind of ironic because in actual Asia, I am not what you would be considered like the top 1% or even 10% of the kawaii hierarchy. By actual East Asian beauty standards, I might throw up a few visual pictures just for reference, but unfortunately, it mostly comes down to your actual features that you're born with. So there's only so much that you can do with makeup. Like today, I did my makeup to maximize what I have going on with my features. However, unless I go the hard plastic surgery route, I'm never going to fit the actual like 1% hyper kawaii beauty aesthetic that is prevailing in Asia. That standard, unfortunately, it is pretty much gatekept by your actual features that you're born with. So those girls that would be considered the super kawaii ones, they across the board have naturally huge eyes. They have the inverted triangle, you know, V-shaped face. Yes, they use makeup. They might even get a couple of procedures here and there to enhance the look even more. But the baseline that they start out with is different than me, okay? It's not to say that I'm not cute or that you can't be cute and charming and gorgeous in your own way. It's just that you know, that description of like really kawaii in East Asia is typically reserved for only people that have those specific facial features, right? So my face, it does not fit that mold naturally. I have a rounder face. It's definitely not V-shaped by any means. You know, I've gotten it to be as tight as possible. Like, I'm happy with the way that my jawline pops out now because I'm at more of my ideal weight now. I haven't weighed myself in a while yet, so I can't say exactly, but I feel that I'm in the 48 to 50 kilo range right now. That's where I feel the most like energized, and my figure is the most toned and noticeable. My face is not bloated, all of that good stuff. When I get up to like 52, 53 kilos, that's when I start to really notice the bloat in my face. I'm the kind of person that it really shows in my face if I have any sort of bloating or inflammation. And so that's another way that I'm careful to like regulate the way I look, is by keeping my overall weight down in a healthy way, of course, making sure to choose nutritious foods and keep hydrated and all that good stuff. But yeah, so back to what I was saying about, you know, leaning into my natural born cute privilege. Ironically, I'm not considered the top 5% of what would be considered really, really cute girls in actual Asia. But outside of Asia, like for example here in Dubai or even in the States, I would kind of automatically just fall under the general like cute, slim, petite Asian girl umbrella, okay? Whether or not you agree with that stereotype, for me personally, I actually, at this moment in my life at least, I enjoy the kawaii type of pretty privilege more than another type that may be a little more unattainable to me. Because number one, it's easily accessible to me. It's something that's part of my culture. It's something that I'm skilled in, you know, like I've been doing this makeup style for a long time. I personally like it. Now, I also want to make a point here that I believe everyone is entitled. Everyone has the right to pursue the type of pretty privilege that they personally want to embody, okay? So for example, even if, let's say that you were born with more sharper angular features, right? Like your features, maybe they have something to do with your ethnicity. They happen to be sharper and more angular. And therefore it would probably be easiest for you to play into like the sexy, pretty privilege archetype, we'll say. The sexy, you know, bombshell, maybe like Megan Fox type of pretty privilege. That would be kind of like the obvious, easy route for you to go if you wanted to glow up, to go into that direction, and then you would get the sexy pretty privilege when you're out and about in society. But let's say that you personally don't want to be perceived as sexy. You would rather, like, you're more interested in the kawaii cute aesthetic. You would rather embody a cuter form of pretty privilege. I think it's totally fine and acceptable. I think it's your life. It's totally fine and acceptable for you to go against what you were naturally born with. And like, so let's say instead of going the sexy route, you decide that you want to attain kawaii pretty privilege for yourself. I think that you have every right to do that as long as you're not hurting anyone else, which you wouldn't be, because we're talking about your body, your experience. So whether that means just, you know, adopting like the clothing style, the fashion, the makeup, or if it means going as far as getting some surgeries to soften out some of your more angular, sexy features, I think that's totally up to the individual, as long as you are aware that your starting point is different from somebody that is naturally born with features that would be more widely perceived as kawaii, if that makes sense. So as long as you're okay, as long as you're like mentally prepared for the possibly more, you know, the more labor that it would take in your journey to get your cute, pretty privilege, then that's fine. Now, if along the way you find that, okay, this is kind of taking a toll on my mental health, I'm not seeing the results that I expected, or maybe you see some of your friends that are more naturally cute, like it just comes more naturally to them. All they have to do is put on some false eyelashes and some blush to achieve the kawaii look, but for you, you feel like you have to do 100 steps. And if it's really messing with your self-esteem and your mental health, then I would encourage you to maybe go back to the drawing board and see if you can like pivot to a different type of pretty privilege that is easier for you to obtain, right? So I say all this to say that I don't have a horse in the race in terms of which pretty privilege I think is better or worse. Like, I don't think there is such a thing as this one being better or worse than the other ones. Actually, at the end of the day, it's all about what you want, okay? So that is my goal with this video, and I guess this channel at large. Like, yes, in this video in particular, I'm giving you practical tips in terms of how to maximize the cute factor, the youthfulness factor in your Douyin makeup, but I'm also giving you like the social impetus for why so many of us are motivated to do this, and how I don't see it as a bad thing. And I am not for shaming women in terms of wanting to move through society in a certain way. Like, if you want to be a social climber, if you want to be the type of person that, you know, maybe you come from a lower socioeconomic class and you want to infiltrate wealthier circles, and you're trying to strategize like, okay, which events can I go to? Should I join a golfing club and start going every weekend so that I can meet rich men or rich people in general, so that I can ingratiate with themselves and then eventually enter their circle? If that's your goal, then that's a valid goal. That's your desire, as long as you own it, as long as you take responsibility for, you know, the possible pitfalls or consequences that you might come across in your journey in obtaining that, go for it, you know, live and let live. So that's the message that I'm trying to get across here. I don't like it when people tell women to like stay in their lane, essentially, you know, you were born in this social class, so you better stay put. Like, how dare you try to social climb or clout chase to improve your position in life? You were born with an average looking face, so how dare you try to use makeup and plastic surgery and even fashion? Who does she think she is? She thinks she's cute now because she got a procedure done or she learned how to do kawaii makeup. No, you don't need to get dragged down by that crabs in a bucket mentality. If you have a goal and you have a certain social standing or certain benefits that you want to achieve in life, and you see a clear way to get to it, whether that be pretty privilege or social climbing, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, and as long as you're doing things only to your own body, I believe that that is your God-given right as a human being in this world to go after it, okay? We live in an imperfect society and none of us made the rules. We were just born and dropped here and told to deal with it, okay? Some of us were lucky enough to have a great foundation, great parental figures, some not so lucky, but at the end of the day, when you become an adult, it's all up to you what you want to get out of life. What you put in is what you get out, all right? So yeah, not only do I believe that there's nothing wrong with using or trying to increase the amount of pretty privilege that you have, I also believe that there's nothing wrong with trying to pick and choose the type of pretty privilege that you want to have, even if it's not necessarily something that's congruent with what you were born with naturally. So again, sorry, I'm still gonna use the cute privilege as just an example because that's mainly what we're talking about in this video, but you can apply this to any other type of pretty privilege that you personally are after. So let's say that you're a little bit on the chubbier side, right? Like you are a little more heavy set. However, you desire to have that kawaii, like cute girl, cute, innocent looking, youthful, pretty privilege for yourself. You can still take and incorporate other elements that don't have anything to do with weight. Like, okay, fine, maybe you don't meet the super slim requirement of the general kawaii aesthetic, but you can still take inspiration from everything else, like the makeup, the hair, the clothing, the accessories, the way that those girls accessorize. You can bring that into your own personal style. And then even if people like try to hate on you initially, which they probably will, especially if they see that you're kind of taking something that's already established as a standard and making it your own, feathers will get ruffled because people are going to see that you were brave enough to kind of like invent your own version of kawaii while being a more heavyset girl, right? This is just an example, but there will be people who see that and they will try to bring you down or try to gatekeep and say that you're not allowed to do that. But know that that's just a reflection on their anger or their dissatisfaction towards themselves, because they know deep down that they would never have had the guts to put themselves out there like that. So that's why they're mad at you. They're not actually mad at you, they're just mad at themselves because they feel like, wow, I would have never been brave enough to do that because I would have been afraid of the ridicule or you know, being rejected by people. And here she is doing the very thing that I fantasized about. How dare she? So I actually feel like in my own way, I kind of did that. Like, again, not in the Western world necessarily, because I am pretty much across the board, like people react to me as if I'm just, people say to my face all the time, like, you're so cute. That's the most common compliment that I get when I'm in the West. In the East, like East Asia, actual Asia, Japan, Korea, China, believe it or not, I get told that I'm sexy more so than I get called cute. And actually, I kid you not, oh my God, I kid you not, there was one time where somebody actually tried to shade me by calling me sexy. I know that you guys are like, okay, no way, you definitely misread that situation. No. This was in Japan where kawaii reigns supreme, right? And you had to be there to sense the microaggression, but believe me, I sensed it. Someone was basically like, oh, well, you know, this girl's cute, that girl's super cute, Ren is sexy. But see, instead of getting angry, instead of getting upset and like curling in a ball and crying at home, I decided to take their attempt to insult me and flip it around. Because I was like, you know what? That person is right. I don't fit like the standard mold of what's considered kawaii in Japan or East Asia in general. No, I don't look like a member of New Jeans, let's say, right? The Korean pop band. Like, I don't have the hugest eyes. I don't have the tiniest V-shaped face. I am aware enough to know that, okay, I'm never gonna be considered like the 1%, top 1% kawaii in East Asia. But instead of seeing that as a weakness or a defect on my part, I took that girl's attempt to insult me by calling me sexy, and I basically created like my own lane, my own subset of kawaii pretty privilege. It's like sexy kawaii. You understand? And the more I work on it, the more I refine it, the better I'm going to get at my own specifically created lane. You see what I'm getting at? Okay, so back to the practical tips though. I put these hair ribbons in, one on each side. Now these are interesting because if you're on social media a lot like me, you see this everywhere, right? Like, this is a huge trending hair accessory, having the two ribbons or like several little ribbons clipped in your hair. But out in the real world, even in Japan, I find that most rooms that I enter, I'm the only one who has a little hair accessory like this. Other people use other things like headbands, or there was one woman that I met on a yacht last week who had a flower in her hair, and I complimented her on it because she fit that like California blonde tanned surfer girl aesthetic. But yeah, I don't really see, like, usually I'm the only one that has these little kawaii like Lolita-esque ribbons in my hair. And I'm telling you, within 10 seconds of speaking to anyone new, this is male or female, they will without fail compliment me on my ribbons, right? They're like, oh my God, that's so cute. And to be honest with you, I've been wearing these for the past 8 days. I've been wearing the exact same makeup look, the exact same hair. To be completely honest, I am a little sick of it. You know, like, if I completely had my way, I would want to change things up sometimes. I don't necessarily want to look super cute all the time. Sometimes I'm feeling edgy. Sometimes I want to go for more of the rock and roll style. But when I'm trying to accomplish a certain goal, okay, for example, this trip in Dubai, I am trying to network. I'm trying to build somewhat of a social network. I know it's not going to be like, I'm not going to make a bunch of best friends, obviously, in such a short amount of time. I'm only here for 11, 12 days total. But my goal for this trip was to just, you know, cast a wide net, right? Like, just expand my surface level acquaintances even. If not for the connection to the actual people, at least it gives me valuable information about Dubai if I wanted to move here. It's quicker to talk to locals to learn about the job market here, the living situation, a general idea of, you know, what your lifestyle would look like, what your monthly costs would be, what does it look like to rent an apartment here. All of those things, it's very, like, I've gotten answers very quickly just based on talking to a lot of people, talking to a lot of random new people that I'm meeting at these open networking events. And part of the reason that I'm able to talk to and gain so much information quickly from strangers effectively is because of my look, right? It's very inviting, it's very kawaii. Like I said, every time 10 seconds within meeting or greeting me, people always compliment me on my hair clips. And even though, like, personally, yeah, I'm a little bit sick of these at this point, I would like to take them out the second I land back in Japan. But as long as I'm here in Dubai, I'm on a mission, right? I'm on a information gathering mission. And so I'm gonna put in the hair clips when I walk into my last 2 events that I have this weekend before I leave, okay? I'm gonna put on my pink makeup to amp up the kawaii, you know, approachable, friendly, pretty privilege aspect. So speaking of these ribbons, because they're placed at either side of the top of my head, it also kind of creates the illusion of like a wider forehead area, which helps create the illusion of an inverted triangle. Not that, like, I know that my face is still nowhere near the ideal K-pop idol V shape, but the fact that I have more volume up here, it kind of balances things out. But it's also, it's like a softer version of pigtails, which again signals to people youth, right? Bubbliness. I'm sure you guys have seen on TikTok, there was a trend recently of female bartenders, they would compare their earnings between a night where they leave their hair down normally like this, and then the next night they would tie up their hair into pigtails like this, and the amount of tips that they got on the night that they tied their hair into pigtails was significantly higher than when their hair was regular. So I don't know exactly by a factor of how much, but it just goes to show you, I mean, this is nothing new, right? And we're talking about female bartenders, right? So a majority of their tips are coming from male patrons. Now, what does that say about men being attracted to pigtails? I'm not gonna go too deep down that rabbit hole. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? I'm not saying that I agree or that I think it's right, but we all know the stats that are out there. I mean, same thing with the baby voice, right? It's been proven that men are much more receptive to if you use a baby voice rather than if you talk in your regular register, which may be a deeper tone. Possible creepy implications aside, it inspires our protective instinct. So hence the pink makeup, okay? The ribbons. I even have ribbons on my top today. I forgot. I'm not wearing this out. This is just something fun that I bought to wear in the room. So tonight I'm actually just going to wear this LBD little black dress to the event that I'm going to. It's just a very basic black satin dress. It has a little fringe on the bottom here. Now this would look very just mature, business, casual, just blah, average on its own, right? But even when I'm wearing something more plain or more adult-like, such as a regular black dress, I can still retain the cuteness in my look through my makeup, okay, through my accessories. Even this necklace here, right? Like, I'm sure that this, even if I didn't have the clips in, this necklace alone would get people talking, right? It's a super girly, like pink ribbon, pearls. There's an edginess factor to it too, so it's not just kawaii, but it's also edgy, sexy kawaii, right? That's my personal lane, because it has like the heart shape, but there's thorns on the side, and it's kind of like a sexy corset design. I guarantee you at least 3 people are gonna come up to me and use this necklace as a conversation starter tonight. Male or female, it doesn't matter, because this is a co-ed event that I'm going to tonight. So that's what it looks like for me to exercise my kawaii pretty privilege in my everyday life as a means to get something I want, right? This is not in a nefarious way. Now, dating, this goes to a whole nother level. Like, that would have to be saved for a separate video, but even just in regular networking events. Last week I went to 2 all-girl events, like exclusively for women, and I can't count how many times my kawaii cute privilege has gotten me something like very valuable out of those situations. I'm so itchy still. Look, I have like all over my arms, even my back. But you know what? Even this rash, I'm using this as part of my cute privilege too. Oh yeah. You're like, what? What is she talking about? This? Okay. Seeing that my delicate, cute skin is being ravaged by this rash, this has been triggering the protective instincts in the men that I'm going on dates with like crazy. You would not believe. In fact, ooh, okay, I did not even plan to get this deep, but let's just go there. So let me show you like all the pills and remedies that the men that I've been going on dates with have been getting me. One guy spent almost, I think this was nearly $100 USD on a cream for my rash. It does feel really good. But yeah, this was like literally, I don't know, I pretended like I wasn't looking at the price tag, but he was like, they can't help it when they see me and how cute I am, and just the fact that I'm like scratching, my skin is going through it. Like, they literally cannot help but to, on 3 separate occasions, okay, 3 separate dates with guys, each one has insisted to bring me to a pharmacy so that they could buy me creams, pills. This is antihistamine, a different brand of antihistamine from another guy. I'm telling you, this is pretty privilege at work, ladies. Oh yes, yes I did weaponize the fact that I have a rash, okay? If I'm gonna have a rash and be uncomfortable and itching myself all day and being miserable as far as my skin goes, I might as well still benefit from it. See, this is what I mean when I say that most of what you would consider pretty privilege in society is something that you can create for yourself in your life, okay? Okay, fine, if you won the genetic lottery, maybe you don't have to do 90% of the things that people are doing. Maybe all you have to do is sit there and people will make you a model and put you on a pedestal just because you were born with perfectly symmetrical features or whatnot. But even those people, the smartest among those people, they still, if they're smart, they still find ways to stack on top of whatever their baseline pretty privilege was. So you could call this method that I'm teaching you here pretty privilege stacking, right? And if you're looking at me thinking that, wow, this girl is so shameless, how could she possibly use her skin allergy rash as a way to get more of what she wants out of life? That's a sign that you need to actually look within and ask yourself, okay? Ask yourself, is she breaking the law? Is she doing anything wrong? Is she hurting anyone? Like the men that were so quick to jump in and take me to the pharmacy and take care of me by buying me antihistamine pills. Did it hurt them to have a chance to be the hero and save the day and get me the medicine and the ointment that I needed? I think not. I think quite the contrary. They were very happy, very proud that they were able to exercise their natural masculine protective instincts, right? As far as I'm concerned, it's a win-win situation. If you want to take your pretty privilege and just basically your life experience to the next level as a woman, the first thing you need to do, especially if you just listen to that story time about how I turned my skin rash into cute privilege essentially, and if you were triggered by that, the first thing you need to do is figure out why you're triggered by me doing something as shameless like this and become shameless yourself, okay? You need to adopt that shameless mentality of I'm going to use whatever life throws at me, good or bad, and flip it to work in my favor. Flip it into pretty privilege, cute privilege, okay? There is going to be no shortage of insecure people in this world, male and female. They don't have the balls to alchemize bad or adverse events in their own lives to improve their life experience out of fear of judgment or whatever from the outside. So they will be triggered when they see you and try to bring you down. They'll try to guilt trip you, make you feel like you're a bad person, make you feel like you're doing the wrong thing. But see, here's the thing, as long as those people are not paying your bills, as long as they don't have the right to throw you into jail for social climbing or using pretty privilege, then their opinion, their input in your life is irrelevant and unneeded, okay? And you can just dismiss it like to the left. So on that note, I think I hit every topic and then some. I was not planning to tell the skin rash story, but I just can't help it. Like, even though I know that those types of stories are going to attract hella triggered people leaving hate comments under my videos and stuff, I know that the potency of the message when it comes through such a personal specific experience like that, I want you guys to have that. The ones that need to hear this, okay? The ones that are trying to get yourself out of the mental matrix, trying to fight against the crabs in a bucket mentality around you. Dark femininity, spiritual alchemy, pretty privilege stacking is gonna be one of the best tools that you could have in your arsenal. Just trust yourself, you got this. Once you get past the whole, once you become immune to the whole guilt tripping, lower level programming of society at large, it is so fun and limitless from here on out. Like, you, literally the limit is the sky, right? Because nobody can tell you, nobody can put a cap on what you can alchemize for yourself. So on that note, I hope that you got some value out of this video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, or if you want me to explore any other specific areas that I didn't address today, whether it pertains to pretty privilege or just manifestation in general, dating in 2024, anything like that, please leave your questions and comments below. Thank you so much for watching as usual, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Latino in that. That's the only time I've seen people in there.
Ja, da war es
floor.